Hello. In this video, I will explain how the Canadian Trucker Freedom Convoy is a massive prophetic sign from God. It is a prophetic sign that is part of a big picture of signs. To prove this, I am predicting that the voice of Darth Vader and the voice of the Lion King, James Earl Jones, will die on February 17th, 2022. The date that this video is posted, as well as this time-stamped email and forensic notes PDF, prove that this prediction is being made ahead of time. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. As of the date that this video is posted, there is zero news in the media regarding James Earl Jones's health. And furthermore, I have known that the death of James Earl Jones would be a major prophetic sign since 2019. If for some reason the prediction for the death of James Earl Jones is not enough, I am also predicting that President Trump will die exactly 1 month after James Earl Jones on March 17, 2022. The reason God has given me a voice through this prediction is to prove that everything that I am saying in this video is true. Proving all of the main conclusions in this video is the purpose for God giving this prediction in this video. In other words, this is a serious warning for those that disagree with the things being stated in this video. Although the Trucker Freedom Convoy is a broad protest against unconstitutional vaccine mandates that violate international human rights law, including the Nuremberg Code regarding coercion to take an experimental injection, the protest is mainly targeted at Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his federal government. Justin Trudeau is the 23rd Prime Minister of Canada. He was elected exactly 7 years after the 44th President of America was elected, which is more of a coincidence than it might seem. Canadian elections are not always held in November as they are in the US. In Bible prophecy, 7 years symbolizes the period of the Antichrist's rule. God pairs the numbers 23 and 44 together in his true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections to point to the 44th president, the basketball president, who wore jersey number 23 in high school. In fact, the date the 44th president and the 23rd prime minister were elected, November 4th, hints at 11 times 4 equals 44. Thus, the election of the 23rd Prime Minister on 11/4 is in itself a pairing of 23 and 44. The 23rd Prime Minister was also elected at the age of 44. God used President Richard Nixon in a few prophetic ways. He saved Israel in its darkest hour during the Yom Kippur War, when even his Jewish advisor, Henry Kissinger, advised him not to. He did this because at the critical moment of decision, he remembered his mother reading him the Bible as a kid. It is said that later on, Nixon cried when he realized how God had used him for that moment in history. Had Nixon not helped, there would not be the nation of Israel today. Nixon also delivered a prophecy. The media calls it the Nixon prophecy. At a state dinner in Ottawa, Nixon gave a toast. He toasted that Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau's 4-month-old son would one day become the Prime Minister of Canada. 44 years to the exact month after Nixon said that 4-month-old Justin Trudeau would one day become the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau was being toasted by the 44th President at the White House at a state dinner. Justin Trudeau and Barack Obama were involved in another prophetic sign that also involved a friendly dinner. In Bible prophecy, it is said that the Antichrist will rule the Temple Mount in Jerusalem during the end times period. In the book of the prophet Daniel, a prophecy that regards the Antichrist's period of rule on the Temple Mount includes a period of 49 years. The name Montreal in French means Mount Royal. God uses this city to symbolize the Antichrist on the Temple Mount, including the prophetic sign when Justin Trudeau excitedly met Obama for dinner in Montreal after telling him and social media it was his home city. Their dinner together was exactly 49 years after Jews captured the Temple Mount during the Six-Day War on June 7, 1967, thus controlling their ancient capital Jerusalem and the Temple Mount for the first time in 20 centuries. The Trucker Freedom Convoy is not only known for its protests in Ottawa and face-off with the 23rd Prime Minister, it is also known for its border-crossing blockades. Only two nations in the history of the world were founded not on ethnicity or language or politics, but on a relationship with God: Israel and America. The Pilgrims founded what would later become America and Canada. The Pilgrims crossed the Atlantic Ocean in an escape from religious and political persecution. They saw their crossing as a parallel with the Bible and the Hebrews' crossing of the Jordan River into the Promised Land. The Hebrews were also escaping persecution in Egypt. In the Bible, the collapse of walls of security symbolize God's judgment on a nation. Judgment destruction from God came upon ancient Israel after it had known God but then turned and rebelled against God. America and Canada are in the process of being destroyed by God, because, like Israel, these nations were blessed by God, but have now turned from and are rebelling against God. Before the walls of security of ancient Jericho collapsed in God's judgment, the Hebrews marched around the walls of security of the ancient city of Jericho in a form of protest while they blew trumpets. God used President Trump and his presidency for this Jericho symbolism. In archaic English, the word trump means trumpet, or the sounding of a trumpet. It is no coincidence that Trump's election campaign and presidency were synonymous with his border wall of security. God has used many prophetic judgment warning signs involving the U.S. southern border. This major prophetic sign, however, involves America's northern border with Canada. The trucker protests at the border and this crisis that threatened economic consequences is symbolism that God is using to point to the Bible and the impending collapse of America's and Canada's walls of security in judgment from God. Canada's seat of government, Parliament Hill, symbolizes ancient Jericho. In the story of Jericho in the book of Joshua in the Bible, the Hebrews marched around the walls of Jericho once every day for 7 days. On the seventh day, they marched around the walls of security of Jericho 7 times while 7 priests blew 7 trumpets. Beginning on Friday, February 11th, freedom protesters marched around Parliament on Parliament Hill. This began the symbolic 7 days of marching around the walls of Jericho. This Thursday, February 17th, will be the 7th day. These freedom protesters will march around Parliament 7 times and then blow the shofar, which is the type of horn trumpet that was used in ancient Israel. This Thursday, February 17th, on the day that they will march around the walls 7 times before the walls of security will symbolically collapse on Canada, it is predicted that James Earl Jones will die. His death will be a symbolic beginning to the collapse of the walls of security of Canada and America. James Earl Jones is king symbolism and also Antichrist king symbolism. He symbolizes the Antichrist king and his defeat on the Temple Mount in October of 2024 by the King of Kings in the second coming of Lord Jesus Christ. This is the end of part 1 of this video. I am just getting started. To watch the remaining 13 minutes of this video, use the link in the description box below this video. I'm trying to get this video with this prediction from God to go viral, so please help me by sharing the link to part 1 everywhere in social media and keep on sharing it every day.